Good afternoon, HMS Bobcats. Mr. Flato here. Welcome back to another great week at the Helen Middle School. Sorry, I'm having a little Monday here. Going to be a pretty quick intro here. We're going to go on part 2 of an introduction to REBT, CBT. It's kind of the same thing. And I'm going to give a couple examples and put it into play so hopefully everybody can visualize it, see it a little bit better. Once again, I think this is a tool anybody could use at any age level. I use it all the time, my personal life, my professional life. Checking metacognition, thinking about how you're thinking, checking your irrational beliefs, thinking about your belief system. I think it's all really good stuff. Let's get rocking and rolling on this Bob lesson. All right, we're off and running. Part 2 of an introduction to REBT, CBT, kind of the same thing. Are your thoughts, or more specifically your beliefs, hindering your mental health? But first, let's be our best this week at HMS. Let's be Bob. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful. Let's be a learner. Just a real quick review in case you were not here last Monday or your head was in the clouds. REBT goes on an A, B, C, D, E, F, CBT as well, kind of sequencing, and it contends that it's not necessarily the adversities or the problematic situations that happen in life that we need to focus on. It's specifically beliefs about the adversity. And whether your beliefs are rational and they're healthy or irrational leads to either positive or emotional consequences. When they're not rational, it teaches to go to D and dispute your irrational beliefs, come up with effective new rational beliefs, hopefully leading to new feelings. And so I thought today I'm going to put this into a couple common situations that I see with middle school kids and kind of outline the irrational beliefs that are going on, and maybe replacing that with some more effective rational beliefs around these two situations, hopefully leading to a more effective rational belief system and a more effective belief system and feelings on the outcome end of it. All right, I didn't have any students that were courageous enough, unfortunately, to message me with their stuff, even though it would have been confidential. But I feel like I see these situations, pretty two easy situations to pick from. So let's get to the first one. Michael had a hard time sleeping leading up to the Algebra 1 final semester test. Michael has convinced himself that if he doesn't earn an A on the test, then this semester of Algebra 1 will have been a failure, and he will need to retake it next year in order to keep his GPA at a 4.0. So the antecedent is the Algebra 1 final, which you can't escape in life. Antecedents are everywhere, or activating events, or the adversity. It's all the same thing. So the belief system is, if I don't earn an A, the semester is ruined, my GPA is destroyed, future opportunities lost. Go down the rabbit hole of super negative self-talk. The consequence of that is spiked anxiety. Your anxiety is keeping you up. He's probably not sleeping well leading up to the test, which leads to not optimal performance due to fatigue and a lack of sleep. So when we start looking at the 3 core irrational belief systems here, this one strictly is on the self. More specifically, if I don't perform in a certain way, then I'm a failure, then things aren't going to go well for me. When we look at some irrational beliefs, core cognitive distortions that are also leading to this and contributing to this, we got a bunch here. We got selective absenteeism, consists of forming conclusions based on an isolated event, forming conclusions like I'm going to be a failure based on one test and ignoring every other. Michael probably has straight A's and everything else. And is involved in extracurricular sports and is a good human being and all that, but we're going to ignore all that, or making an overgeneralization, extreme conclusions. If I don't earn an A, then I'm not going to have an A at semester, then I'm not going to have a 4 and it snowballs from there. Magnification, catastrophizing, same sort of thing. When we get to the next page, labeling himself, I'm going to be a failure if I don't do well, if I don't earn an A on this. All or nothing thinking, same sort of thing. So when we start looking at this, let's dispute those and let's look at maybe replacing those with some more rational belief systems about this. And this is the disputing part. And maybe some self-talk could be this. Yes, this is an important test, and it's an opportunity to showcase my knowledge. It's an opportunity to showcase knowledge instead of thinking negatively about the stress and pressure of it. Or how about I'm going to control what I can control, which is dedicating ample time to study for the test. And then I have to let the outcome be what the outcome is going to be, because we can only control so much in life. Or how about this test will have zero impact, and I tell kids this all the time, in the grand scheme of things. How I do on this test is going to have zero impact on where I end up in 10 years. What will have more of a greater impact on where I end up in 10 years is the attitude that I have with things, my work ethic I have with things, and specifically that I approach these situations with. So we're hoping that with some more rational talk, Michael does better on the test, and it leads to a better feeling about things. All right, let's take another look at maybe an example I see a lot. Jessica, and I'm just making up these names, by the way. Jessica finally found the courage to text, snap, whatever you kids do, Sarah, someone she views as being more popular than her and someone she hopes to foster a friendship with. A day has gone by and Jessica has not received a response / left unopened, whatever you kids call it, and is starting to melt down with thoughts like I'm unlikable, I don't belong in Sarah's friendship group, I'm a loser. So the antecedent or the activating event is not receiving a text back from Sarah, maybe in a timely manner that she had thought out in her head. The belief that's coming from that is maybe I'm unlikable, Sarah doesn't want to be friends with me, Sarah thinks I'm a loser, I don't belong in Sarah's popular friendship group, etc. The consequence from this is going to be self-doubt, self-esteem is in the gutter, maybe closed off and angry, irritable to others, depressed, and feeling like we are falling off the social cliff, if you will. Let's look at some areas. Let's look at the core area of irrational belief that Sarah's got going on. This one is with others. Specifically, others must show up a certain way in my life, or others must treat me with respect. When it comes to others, I think this is such a huge one, just as a side note. We cannot control other people. And when we start thinking that other people must treat us a certain way, act a certain way, show up in a certain way, etc., we are setting ourselves up with that belief system for failure and for frustration and for anger and for sadness and for name the negative emotion. Let's look at some of the cognitive distortions that we got going on. Making an arbitrary inference, making conclusions without the support. Maybe Sarah has her phone taken away. Maybe Sarah meant to respond to it and hasn't had a chance to yet. We're basing and we're making a decision based off of one thing without, I think, a big enough body of evidence or facts to make that conclusion. She is making the conclusion that Sarah doesn't want to be friends with me. Therefore, none of the kids in the friendship group want to be friends with me, just off of one little piece of evidence instead of gathering all the facts. And making an overgeneralization, making an extreme conclusion that she doesn't want to be friends, she doesn't like her, she doesn't belong in that friendship group, she's unpopular, she's unlikable. Go down the whole list of irrational, the thought process that goes along with that. And then all or nothing thinking, like if Sarah doesn't want to be friends with me, therefore I'm not going to have friends in general. Therefore, I'm not likable. Therefore, I don't have value as a friend, so on and so forth. Let's take a look. Now, let's dispute some of that, and let's take a look at maybe a more rational way of looking at that. Like I said in the previous slide, maybe she has seen, is choosing, or Jessica's making major assumptions that she has seen it and she's choosing to ignore it, that she doesn't like her, doesn't want to associate with her, and her value as a friend is dependent on Sarah's validations. So maybe a more core rational belief system about the antecedent with this was, I'll give her some more time to respond. Her phone may not be working. She could not have access to it. She could be waiting to respond to me. After all, it's only been a day. The other core rational belief way of looking at this system is, if she doesn't respond, perhaps that wasn't the right social connection for me to make. And I will continue controlling what I can control, which is putting positivity and kindness out there in the world and trusting that the right friends and connections will happen over time with patience. And hopefully having that mindset, you're going to move forward with a better feeling about the whole situation. Again, we can't change the antecedent. We can't change the activating event. And those things are going to happen in life. We can't avoid those. But we can choose our belief system around it. Interested in learning more about this? Super easy. Go to Wikipedia, type in REBT. All the information is here. I think this is something that even starting at middle school, kids can understand as you get into high school, as you become an adult. Really easy to understand and practice. And again, it's a tool that I think every human being could use in their life. I use it all the time. I use it all the time in my professional life. I use it all the time in my personal life. So just more than anything, wanted to introduce this to you all. And if you're interested in it, great. If not, that's okay as well. All right, let's get to my favorite part of the show. Joe Beat Question of the Week winners. We got Henry Danielson, Parker Creswell, Jose Monkey herself, Arlo Baloo, and Henry R. The answer is, what do other people use way? What belongs to you, but other people use way more than you, and that would be your name. All right. Shout out to our wonderful math teachers in the building. I love this question. Divide 30 by half and then add 10. What's the total? If you think you know the answer, submit your answer to the Bob box. First, last name, legible, every week. I pull names. I can't read them. I throw them away. Don't let you be the next person that happens to. All right, Bobcats, let's make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.